Good morning, grasshoppers. I wanted to take this opportunity and briefly just run over your assignments this week and chat a little bit about your chapter online. So, the first one you're going to have is a parable of Hugh. It's a very short thing, but it's very important in the sense of what I like to consider our authenticity. The Who are you? What are you about? Hugh asks, that parable asks these questions. So you want to think about that. Um, the other one is Martin Niemöller. And I just want to um share with you that Martin Niemöller was a minister during the Nazi occupation and the Holocaust. And the poem that he uh, generates, which is not very long, is one that asks, when do you stand up for what's right? And what are the consequences of not standing up for what's right, or to protect those that can't protect themselves, or to protect the weak, things of that nature. So, in terms of ethics, that's where, here again, Parable of Hugh, Martin Niemöller comes into play in terms of your existential authenticity. Genealogy of my morals, I will share with you that I have a great respect for the professor that did this lecture. This is a transcript of his lecture. And he is asking some incredibly important questions in terms of where do your morals come from? What is the genealogy of your morals? The last thing I wanted to chat with you about is lying, chapter 12 in your textbook. Um, Lying has become almost passe. People do it and assume it just has very little consequence, especially the minor lies and things of that nature. I happen to be one that seriously disagrees with that, and it's not the case. Trust me, it's not the case that I've never engaged in this behavior in the course of my life. But at the end of the day, I want you to think about what it is that you fundamentally do to someone when you lie to them. And what you do, just to sort of answer the question, what you do, in my opinion, is rob them of an important notion of making decisions premised on reality. And I just don't think you have the prerogative to do that. You're robbing someone of something critically important. Not only that, but you may be engaging their health, and you certainly don't have that prerogative. So the extensions of lying to people are very broad in nature. And we have a tendency not to think about that. Politicians do it, other folks do it, and it just becomes very problematic. And we are going through a sort of a third wave crisis of the corona right now. And I just read an article in the paper the other day. People just aren't sure what to believe anymore. Do they believe the press? Do they believe, the CDC experts? Uh, what do they believe? So we have created this kind of Durkheimian anomie in our culture about what is the truth and what do we follow. Um, and that has some serious consequences. It seems very clear to me that if you're a parent of a small child and you don't get your children vaccinated against polio, for example, then I just think you're behaving irresponsibly. Um, Anyone that, and by the way, polio is on the rise in this country, ironically enough. We thought we had it all eliminated, but now it's started to come back. Why? Because parents aren't vaccinating their kids. And anyone that knows anything about the history of polio and the Salk vaccine and things of that nature, um, it is a debilitating disease, and once you contract it, you're toast. There's no cure for it. So once you contract polio, then you've got it for your life. So I only bring that to your attention as one of the examples of the very severe consequences of trying to share with people that, well, you don't need to vaccinate your kids. I mean, after all, they're infusing little microchips in your body so that they know where you are. You get my drift in terms of how ludicrous some of this sounds, and yet people do it. The media engages in it, and I just find it very problematic. And I think you ought to as well. And so, what this chapter does, and what these assignments this week do for you, is beg you to seriously put on your critical thinking caps and think your way through some of these issues. So, that's it. You don't have a terrible lot to do this week. Um, I want to sort of give you a little preview of coming attractions for next week, and so that you can, if you want, you can get a jump start on this. Next week, you have an assignment that you have to go to Netflix and you have to watch this film called The Social Dilemma. It's an incredibly important film, about an hour long. You need to get some popcorn and a soda or something and watch the film, but pay very close attention to it. The quiz that you're doing over this film is fairly extensive in terms of you understanding and knowing what this film is trying to share with you. All of my ethics students it's mandatory that they view this film, both at Northwood and Grand Valley. And the results that I get from students is that they're incredibly grateful that they went through it. So that's coming up next week on Netflix. If you don't have Netflix, one, I'm stunned. And two, grab a pal who has Netflix, go to their house, bring the popcorn, and you and your pals get together and watch this film. A real fun thing is if you can get together with the other folks in your class and get kind of a bunch of pals together and watch this film together, and then you can chat about it and blah blah blah. Next week, you'll have access to the questions, so you can even then have a sort of a group conversation about the questions. I really want you to think about this. It's the social media today is so important in terms of its impact. I'm actually going through a course right now through the teaching company on how the social media affects the way we live. And quite frankly, every dimension of your life is affected by social media. So, once again, previews of coming attractions for next week. This is an important film, and you need to get on this and watch this movie. Okay, those are your assignments for the week. I want to share with you, I think that you're all doing very well. One of the notions that I do want to share with you, one or two have decided that, well, they really don't need to do the assignments. You need to be aware. I'm one of those professors that if you do the assignment, great. If you don't do it, that's your choice. That every day of your life you're living out your choices. But the quickest way to get yourself in the heater in my classes is not do the assignments. Quite frankly, they're not that hard. And it's just a matter of mechanics and doing them and taking the time and blah, blah, blah. So I only bring that to your attention. Please get the assignments done and get them done on time. That's one of the things that I require. I'm a great adherent of the idea. I'm reiterating a bit here. I'm a great adherent of the notion that deadlines matter. And when your supervisor or your boss or the CEO of your company says, John or Martha, I need that report by Monday morning at 8 o'clock, that's when I need that report. I'm not interested in your excuses. And hopefully you're getting the memo on that when your boss, supervisor, CEO it gives you that heads up. I need that report then. So try to be aware that deadlines matter. These assignments this week are about your authenticity, about your character. Who are you? What are you about? So I think you're doing a good job. Quite frankly, I'm enjoying reading your work, and I wish we could do a Zoom, and maybe next week we will try that. We'll set up a Zoom and see if we can get everybody in on a Zoom. Okay, so I want you to have a good week and be careful out there, grasshoppers. Coroni's back. Another variant is sweeping Michigan. I like to give the analogy that Godzilla's back and brought his pals. Be careful out there.